Hey, hi. In this video, we'll be looking into a problem. So yesterday I was giving an interview. So he asked me this problem, and it was pretty interesting. You will find it interesting, obviously. It was very new. The concept is really, really, really new, and it was based on one higher order function, I guess. And so the problem is you have the pipeline. So let's say this is the pipeline, right? So the pipeline would be having the multiple functions. So this function gonna be taking some num as an input and it will be returning some num minus one. And after that, whatever the output is there, that gonna be the input for the next function. It's kind of like if you have done mongo.aggregate, I guess. So mongo.aggregate. So if you have done this, then there will be many pipelines, right? So let's say there would be match and so whatever like match maybe lookup. So what happens is let's say the match would be like object, right? And this would be like object. So if you have done this Mongo aggregate query, so that's a pipeline, right? So first of all, the match query gonna give you the some output. So that's gonna be the input for the next pipeline, like the next phase. Then the lookup query will give you something. Then that will be the input for the third pipeline. Okay. So that's how if you can relate that. So that's going to be really good for you. Okay. So Mongo aggregate, just like the Mongo aggregate, so we have made this array of functions. Okay. So the first function would be, so the function would be anything. Okay. This can be minus, this can be plus as well. So anything, any operation. But the thing is, the common thing is this going to be a function only every time. And the function will be returning some output. And that's going to be the input for the next pipeline, for the next phase. Okay. And ultimately, the one thing that is common is that you will be getting one common output. You'll be getting one number or something as an output for this after this pipeline is done. Okay. What is the, so let me introduce the code. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Okay. So pipeline is there. So compose function is there. So compose function will be passing the pipeline, the array of functions. And after that, what's going to happen is that composed will be invoking the composed. Whatever this is returning will be invoking that function. I mean that output with the our given number. So we'll pass a number. It will go through the entire all the pipelines and it will be returning us some output. And the pipelines can be anything. It can be whatever the logic he wants to. It will just give you the function. You have to execute with our given input, and you have to run all the pipelines. Okay, and after that you have to give the output. So the first first approach you can think is like a for loop. Actually, I tried in the interview like the using the for loop, but that didn't looked good. Like if I'm being honest. So first of all, you have to get the idea that okay, this gonna return something, right? This gonna return a value, you know. So most of the I think people, the first thinking that and that will strike your mind is this will return a value, right? But that's not the case actually. The thing is, what this gonna return is we are invoking this function, right? That means we are there is one more function. So that's gonna return a function only. I hope it may make sense because the compose, whatever the function the compose will return here in the line number 13, this should be a function only. That function will be invoking and we will give the input, whatever the integer we want to, right? Okay. So okay, so what can we do? This function gonna take something, right? So in this four, it can be anything, 10 or something. So whatever the number, the input, like the user wants to give. So the function gonna take something that is the let's say like the number, right? So that number gonna we're gonna pass this number to all the funcs like array elements, right? Because the funcs is containing all the functions, I mean array of functions basically. So we have to pass the funcs. So one thing that you can think of, you might have thought already, is the reduce function, right? we can use the reduce function. So reduce function gonna take the element as the accumulator, and he gonna pass the accumulator to all the functions, right? Okay, it doesn't make sense, right? Okay, we'll see what can we do. So can we do something like return, let's say maybe let's say return, can we do something like funcs? Okay, so what's we gonna do is we're gonna reduce something, right? So what we're gonna do is we will reduce this. We can apply reduce, right, in this funcs array. So it's gonna take accumulator and element, right? Element, or the you can say func function, or I'll just take the element only, element, right? And we will be invoking something. Okay. So now if you think it's gonna return, now it does actually make sense, right? So num would be something number, and what this gonna return is some value, like the particular result value, right? Okay. So we have reduced this. Okay. So what what we have to think is, let's say we are passing this num, right? So what's gonna get accumulator? So accumulator would be the first value, right? Whatever the first number it actually gives you. So 4 would be the first value, right? So we'll start from the num only. Does it make sense? So the we'll be passing num. Okay. So let me complete this code. Okay. So what this gonna return? This gonna return actually element of accumulator. Did it make sense? Hope it makes sense. Like, so what we are returning, we're gonna return funcs dot reduce. Accumulator is there. Okay. So first element is the number. That's the 4. Okay. So for the first iteration, this would be 4. This will go here, element, and this is going to return element dot. So here in the num line number 10, num would be 4, right? So 4 will return 4 minus 1. So this would be 3, right? So 3 would be stored in the accumulator, right? So this num now, it's not 4, it's actually 3. Now for the second iteration, this element would be num into 2, right? So now I have num as 3, right? So 3 would be here as an accumulator. Now 3 is 3 into 10. So that's 30, right? So that's how it's gonna be. And now my updated num is 30, right? So after this, what it's gonna do? It's gonna take again the third element. Third element is the string s, all right? It's for the printing the statement. I mean, returning the statement, right? So 30 would be the updated value as a string. And yeah, so element would be there. So accumulator is 30. So it will just print 30 as a string, right? So now if I save this file, so you get the 30 as a string, right? So yeah, this was like a pretty interesting like the problem. Overall, I've never like seen this problem, but yeah, it is a really really it actually this problem actually gives you a idea where the like the student is clear about the reduce function or not. Adios, amigo. Right? Powering off. So it is all about the playing with the accumulator num, obviously. Yeah, there can be anything. There can be like 10 to 15 functions here in the pipeline. So whenever you just have to execute that with the previous value, like whatever the previous value is there. So that would be the num. It will start from the num and it will update the num with the help of the whatever the function it's actually returning. Like the function is returning, it will just reassign the accumulator to that. Right? So yeah, this was all about this problem. I like hope you have gotten some idea, I guess. This is a really interesting thing, like this, how the pipeline is made. And yeah,